Welcome back. Today's adventure brings us in search of Nevada State historical markers, numbers 176 through 180. We're going to go ahead and start off 6.5 miles east of Austin at Bob Scott's Summit. Here on the eastbound shoulder of US 50 at the summit is going to be our first marker in this series. So let's go ahead and take a look at marker number 176, the Surveyors. The Surveyors. The federal government historically supported numerous surveys for the purpose of measuring the domain which extended to the Pacific after 1848. These surveys sought railway routes, military relationships, water transport, and wagon roads. The survey activity was extended to all territories, but not to the states. The Nevada Territory, in part, was the site of two notable surveys, Honey Lake to Fort Kearny Wagon Road, completed in 1860 by Captain Frederick Westlander, and the route surveyed by Lieutenant James H. Simpson, Camp Floyd in Utah to Genoa, Nevada in 1859. Other military engineers engaged in this activity included Stansbury, Marcy, Whipple, and Beale. The name of Captain Lander stands out as a contributor to Nevada's history. He has been memorialized in the name of a prominent Nevada county. Nearby Simpson Park Mountains are named in honor of Lieutenant Simpson's efforts. Nevada State Historical Marker, number 176. So now, let's turn around and travel west on US 50 to Lyon County. Located in Stagecoach on the eastbound shoulder of the turnoff to Cheyenne Drive is going to be our next marker. Marker number 177, Desert Well Station. This also happens to be one of the very few bicentennial markers in the state. Desert Well Station, Overland Mail and Stage Station. Located approximately 1 mile south of the remains of a typical stage station of the period, 1843 to 1869. An era of transition between the arrival of the first immigrant wagon trains and the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad. Desert Well Station, which was later known as Nelson's, achieved a measure of fame when Mark Twain wrote of his experience there in Roughing It. The original site featured 2 wells, an inn, and corrals. One of the wells was used exclusively by camels brought to the Nevada desert to haul salt to the mines on the Comstock. Nevada State Historical Marker, number 177. Now, let's drive about 29 miles northeast to the town of Hazen. Located on the westbound shoulder of US 50 alternate and close to 100 yards away from the old Hazen store is going to be our next marker. Marker number 178, Hazen. Hazen. Hazen was named for William Babcock Hazen, who served under General Sherman in his march to the sea. The town was established in 1903 to house laborers working on the Newlands irrigation project south of here. Included hotels, saloons, brothels, churches, and schools. In 1905, the first train came through on the new routing to Tonopah. In 1906, the Southern Pacific Railroad built a large roundhouse here as well as a fine depot. In 1908, Hazen was nearly destroyed by fire. As a tough town, it had no peer in the state. Nevada's last lynching occurred in Hazen when Red Wood was taken from the wooden jail and hanged on February 28, 1905. Nevada State Historical Marker, number 178. Now, let's travel back over to Carson City. Here at Glen Eagles on North Carson Street would have been the site of our next marker. Unfortunately, it was removed years ago and is currently awaiting a new home or a new text revision from the state. But for now, let's take a look at what our next marker once said. Here's marker number 179, First Air Flight in Nevada. First air flight in Nevada, June 23, 1910. The first air flight in Nevada took place on the old Raycraft Ranch immediately to the west. The flight was of national interest not only because an air journey had never before been made at such an altitude, 4,675 feet, but also because of Ivy Baldwin, a nationally known parachutist and balloonist, would make the flight. This was a trial flight as stipulated by the Sagebrush Carnival Committee of Carson City. It was followed by exhibition flights on July 3rd, 4th, and 5th at the Carson City racetrack. Baldwin made the flight in a 48-horsepower Curtiss Pullman biplane, reaching a height of 50 feet and covering 1/2 mile before returning to the starting point. Nevada State Historical Marker, number 179. Now let's drive 4 miles south. Located on Warm Springs Court is the old Nevada State Prison and our next marker, marker number 180, the Warm Springs Hotel and Nevada State Prison. The Warm Springs Hotel and Nevada State Prison. Built near this site around 1860, Nevada's first territorial legislature met in the Warm Springs Hotel in 1861. Abraham Curry, noted entrepreneur and co-founder of Carson City, built the hotel from hand-hewn sandstone taken from the quarry southeast of here, now inside the old Nevada State Prison complex. An imposing edifice in its day, the hotel was one of several buildings throughout Carson constructed of this unique sandstone. The sandstone quarry remained a significant piece of the prison's operation from 1860s to the 1950s, as prisoners cut stone for prison buildings and other nearby state facilities, such as the state capitol and U.S. Mint, now the Nevada State Museum. Prison administrators hoped that the work in the quarry or the prison farm 3 miles south would rehabilitate prisoners to return to society. In 1862, Abe Curry leased a portion of the hotel to the Nevada Territory to hold prisoners. 2 years later, the state of Nevada purchased the property for use as a prison. The title of the property was disputed for years afterwards and finally settled by the legislature in 1879. During 1867, a fire destroyed the portion of the hotel the state purchased from Curry. After the fire, the state of Nevada rebuilt the prison campus, beginning a tradition of redeveloping the prison that continued into the 1980s. The prison continued to operate until 2012 and was listed in the National Register of Historic Places in 2015. Nevada State Historical Marker, number 180.